Prospecting for listings, past clients and contacts, your referral system. Boy, you got to add to that referral system, even if it's starting out with one client and adding another and another and another and another. That's how you build a referral system. Again, I recommend that you use the record plate book and categorize them into some different segments. Number one, you'd categorize this book of your referral people, contacts. These are people that are service to you. Your people that do your laundry, your dry cleaners, the service station where you have your car worked on or you buy your gas, your baker, your milkman, your postman, whoever it might be. These are service-oriented people toward you. Good source of contacts. Next, I'd recommend that you categorize them in people that have bought through you. These are buyers that you actually represented. Next is your orphan clients. Probably in your office right now is a source of prospects that nobody is even taking advantage of. Now, if you're a broker, I recommend that if you're an active broker or a competing broker, that you use this, that you take care of the orphan clients. But if you're a salesman or a sales lady in an office, there's probably been some salespeople come through the office, make 2 or 3 sales out of the business for first one reason or another. These are your orphan clients. They're people that have had a transaction through your company, and that agent is no longer with your company. Number one, you have to go through the files that this other individual has had these transactions. Next, it must have been a good experience for that individual, because if you're going to try to contact them back and they had trouble with the escrow, they had trouble with the agent, they had trouble with the company, you're wasting your time. Next, you have to make a personal contact. Just sending them something is not going to get it. You need to actually go out and visit them, tell them or explain to them that you are now in charge of servicing their real estate needs in the future. That is your orphan clients that become contacts for you. Listings sold by others. You list a property and another company sells it. What will happen sometimes is that during the close of escrow, the other agent just falls down on the job. And I've had him call me and say, Roger, we need help. We try to get a hold of this guy. We can't ever get him. He doesn't return our calls. We got to get keys for the house. We can't get moved in. We're having this problem. The stove doesn't work. What can we do? You're our last resort. After close of escrow, these people become on your clientele referral list. But you must have had them contact you first, I do recommend, in that type of a situation. Sold and local is another category in this area. This means that you had listed a property for an individual and he moved someplace within the same valley, the same area, the same city, but maybe he didn't buy through you. If he did buy the other house, then he becomes a buyer. That's the way I'd like to keep track of them. You might have listed his property and sold it, and then he might have bought a property through a builder, a new home. And I have personally found that out of the 100% of people that will sell this month or this year, about 30% of them will sell and stay within the surrounding area. That's been my experience. Rental owners. Rental owners is another division. These are people primarily that are in your service area, in your farm area, that when you go knocking on doors and the people say, oh, we're just renting here, so you make note of that. And I'll show you how to find out where the owners are when we talk about absentee owners here in just a little bit. Now, I recommend on your referral system, I found an effective way to service that is by mail-outs. You can't be doing for sale by owners, expired listings, going over and visiting your referral clients and all this. I think it's too much. And the way I like to service my referral clientele is through mail-outs. What I would do is have about 5 mail-outs a year where they're getting something from me about every 2 months. Kind of a suggestion here is on Valentine's Day, school is getting out and moving, 4th of July, Thanksgiving Day, Christmas card on Christmas Day, Groundhog Day. Now, I'm kind of artistically inclined, as you might begin to suspect. I would just rough draft a little artwork of an idea that I wanted to do. And next time you're looking through the magazine, watch these Saratoga, this is not a commercial for them, but Saratoga cigarettes have some fantastic little cartoon works. They really make good little flyers and so forth. After you have listed a property for sale, you can also use these same cartoon ideas to make individual flyers for the properties, and then you can pass them out at the multiple meeting or an open house or something like that. And for school getting out, I had a picture of an old woman in a shoe with a bunch of kids falling out of it. And this was my school getting out, because a lot of people need to move during the summer, or they're going to move during the summer because their family has increased in size or decreased during the year, and that's when most people are moving. 4th of July, I had a picture of a big firecracker going off. Thanksgiving Day, naturally a turkey, Christmas card, we'd send that out. And I had a picture of a groundhog hanging upside down with his back feet. That was a really cute little picture that we send out on Groundhog's Day. We send it out a few days before then. I did not take the time to address these all myself. What I would do is, number one, I'd have the printer instant print, maybe in 2 colors on nice paper, reasonably nice, enough brochures that I was going to send out to these referral clients. I was fortunate enough to get a little gal in my service area that had handwriting almost as bad as mine. What I would do is take over to her house or have her come and pick it up, a box of envelopes, a roll of stamps, a black felt tip pen, and these brochures. And then maybe at the bottom I would make out a little message for her to write a personal note to the individuals. Then as she was going through my referral book, she knew the personal note to send to each client. She would hand address each envelope and hand sign my first name and insert my business card, 2 business cards. Every 2 months these people were getting material from me, and sometimes we'd insert maybe a new little press release that the paper might be running, that I won the multiple listing award or whatever it might be. This is how I service my referral clientele. Prospecting for listings, telephone canvassing. Telephone canvassing. Use the crisscross directory. Again, if you don't have your own, run a copy of it. I recommend that you do it from your home. Remember now, if you have your office in your own home, you can do this in some privacy. Myself, I was never successful at telephone canvassing from the office. There was too much going on, too much interruption and so forth. If you're doing it from the office, you're successful doing it from the office, by all means, continue doing it. But I'm saying that I found it best to do it from the home myself. Again, using the touch-tone telephone with a push-button type. Be fast. Volume is what we want you to do. And then follow up with a thank you note if you do get a lead, and a brochure and maybe a couple business cards. Let's say, for example, this represents a page out of the cross directory, and as I recall, there's about 4 columns to it, something like that, and then it may be set up as Apple Street, Bacon Street, C, D, whatever it might be. And let's say this represents some of the telephone numbers listed down through here. I have actually seen people try to telephone canvass. If the line was busy, they would make a note on another piece of paper. If there was nobody home, they would make a note on another piece of paper. Don't spend the time. If the line's busy, forget them. Just bypass them. All you're looking for is volume. You would call and say your dialogue, check that one off. If it's busy, check it off. Go to the next one. If you want, you could put a little B for busy next to it and then follow up later. Just keep going down through there and checking them off. That's all I want you to do, and use a similar dialogue or this dialogue that I'm going to give you. Again, keep in mind that I think that most telephone dialogues are too long. I'm going to give you a short one and a brief one, and I find that by using a short one and brief one like this, that people are much more open to give you the information. Let's say, for example, you're coming down through your list and somebody says, well, as a matter of fact, yes, there is some people across the street, and they give you the address. Follow up with that individual that gave you the lead with a thank you note, maybe a company brochure, and 2 of your business cards. Keep in mind now, I keep saying 2 of your business cards instead of 1, and the reason being is you can satisfy some people by letting them throw away 1 card, and then that leaves 1 card. And I've found that they will do it that way too. They will keep your card if you send 2 of them. Now, if you get a referral and the people say again that, yes, we're going to be selling, but it's probably going to be about 6 or 8 months, yes, something like that. When school's out, you know how they do. And you say, fine, I'll make a note of it, and then I'd like to contact you back. Again, contact them back in about 1/3 of the time of what they tell you. If they say we're going to be selling in 9 months, call them back in 3. And then make a record plate or some 3x5 card note to call them back. And then your dialogue in calling them back might go something like this. Hi, Mrs. Jones, this is Roger Butcher. The last time I talked with you, you said you had some bread in the oven, How did it come out? Oh, it was great. Keep a note of something that was going on at that time if she mentions it. Say to her that you're just following up, that you had talked with her a couple months ago. She said they're going to be putting the property on the market in about 8 months or 9 months, whatever it might be. You were just checking back. And that's all. You were just checking back. And then let her explain to you when she thinks they may be putting the property on the market. Now, if it starts getting close, start going in to get an appointment. And the way you get an appointment, naturally, is to ask for it. When would be a good time to visit with you and your husband? Would say tomorrow evening be good or Tuesday evening be better? And then when she gives you an evening, say would 6:30 be good or would say 7 be better? Alternative choice. Now I found again myself that the times to telephone canvas, the best times I found for my schedule, was about 4 o'clock in the evening to about 7. I'll say this, I think that telephone canvassing is probably the most productive means of obtaining listings that there is. Here's a sample dialogue for you now to use on the telephone. Now, a couple guidelines that you should think of before you start out is that the individual cannot see you. He cannot see your lips moving. He doesn't know what you're looking like or anything at all. So talk slowly, talk right into the mouthpiece, and smile when you talk. Remember, attitude and tone is so important. Start out. Now, if it sounds like Mrs. Jones that's answering the phone, say, Mrs. Jones, please. Now, if it sounds like Mr. Jones, say, Mr. Jones, please. Because when I first started doing telephone technique, I made the mistake. It sounded to me like Mrs. Jones because of the deep voice. And I says, hi, Mr. Jones. This is Mrs. Jones. You're off. I don't care what you say. You can't cover it up. You've just lost a good chance for a first impression. So say it slowly. Mrs. Jones, please. This is Mrs. Jones. Mrs. Jones, this is Roger Butcher with Professionals Unlimited. I am looking for a home in your area for a client of mine. Who do you know that would like to sell their property for all cash? Now, she's thinking of selling. Who do you think she might refer you to? Herself. Even if it goes FHA or VA, what do they get at close of escrow? All cash. She says, I don't know of anybody at all. Well, thank you very much for your time. Oh, by the way, when will you folks be selling? How long is it going to take you to use that little short dialogue like that? Less than a minute. My gosh, the number of people you can cover. I had a little gal that came to work with me when I had my own office. Attractive. Well, to tell it like it is, guys, she was foxy. She went out knocking doors. She was going to try all the different things. She came into the office one day almost in tears. A bad experience had happened with her. She said, Roger, I just cannot knock on doors. I said, that's okay. Sit down. We'll find out what you can do. And we developed a special little technique just for her, and she's listing 4 and 5 houses every month just by telephone canvassing. Keep in mind now that the schedule that I outlined yesterday, that's if you want to list 20 or 30 properties a month. If your goal is to list 3 or 2 or 1 or 5, you're not going to have to do that much. Was there anybody that misunderstood that? Really? Yeah, you don't have to do that. You know, I'd been out of the business long ago if you had to work that hard to get one. If you're a broker, here's a telephone technique that you can use to staff your office. It provides 2 opportunities. Number 1, to get listings. Number 2, to recruit new salespeople. You may even wish to have your salespeople to use this technique in telephone canvassing and then maybe give them a referral fee if they do get somebody that you choose to select to go to work with you. Now here's a dialogue for that. In telephone canvassing, Mr. Jones in, please. This is Mr. Jones. Or whoever it might be, if it sounds like Mr. Jones or Mrs. Jones, using the same approach. Mr. Jones, please. This is Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones, this is Roger Butcher, the broker with Professionals Unlimited Realtors, and I was wondering, have you ever considered the benefits of a career in real estate? Now, it may end up, his answer to that might be, as a matter of fact, yes, I have. Or as a matter of fact, no, but I'd like to hear more. As a matter of fact, no, because we're going to be selling in about 6 months. Either way, you're going to win.